I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
We know the government is looking at digital ID cards at the moment. How would that help prevent the situation that we're in now?
Well, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, has said we are looking at what other countries have done to bring in a sort of digital accreditation. I think there's real actually benefits right across here, from obviously dealing with illegal working, but also actually imagine if your viewers imagine that they had one credential that would allow them to access all the different government services and our public services do. I'm sure many of your viewers often tear their hair out with all the different numbers and passwords of the different bits of government that they have to deal with. And I do think there could be a real benefit here for people who are here and working legally and accessing our public services if there was one route in, as well as the benefits it could have with illegal migration. We're looking at that. I think it is an interesting idea that other countries have taken forward, and we want to learn from what they've done.
Digital ID is the hill to die on at the moment, because once they get everything in, where they can completely delete you from society if you don't play ball. Because at the moment, if I go into the local shop and I go, all right, mate, yeah, blah, blah, food, blah, blah, go, okay, my card doesn't work. All right, there is money on it. I mean, we've all been there. Card doesn't work. Oh, that's annoying. All right, well, I've got some cash. Gosh, fine, I've got it. If you take cash away and it's gone, and it's what they want to do, and they did it through COVID, didn't they? They gave people the excuse to stop taking cash all of a sudden, when that was illegal before. You had to take it because it was legal tender. Since COVID, it's fine, yeah, we don't take cash, we're cashless now. Suddenly, the state can control whether you can eat, what you can do. That's huge. It can control where you can go, where you can spend your money. So, you know, I can go into a grocery store. Everything's attached to my digital ID. All of my money, everything is there. My compliance score, the whole lot of it is all on there. And if I want to go and buy a couple of rump steaks, well, no, you had steak last week, son. All right, they won't let me buy that then. And people think that's far-fetched. They think that the idea of that is crazy. And then you say, well, you do know in China that millions of people aren't allowed to use public transport because their social credit score is too low. And they look at you with a fluoride stare of like, no way. Yeah. Way. Yeah. And that is exactly the world that they want for the rest of us.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Why is Vietnam the testing ground for the new banking order? Well, recently, Vietnam imposed a requirement for a digital ID, including a biometric scan of everyone in order to have a bank account. And what they did to enforce this is they closed 86 million bank accounts and seized all of the assets in those accounts. So the owners of those accounts have no ability to do banking or access their funds because they chose not to sacrifice their privacy and submit to this biometric surveillance tracking mechanism. Well, this is not something that is going to stay in Vietnam. This is a test because if we look at, for example, what's going on with the European Central Bank and Digital ID initiative in Europe, as well as the Real ID and the CBDC system FedNow being imposed in the United States, we can see that it is coming to us as well. So what are you going to do about it?
Today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever. But it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that.
Apparently, Apple's developing ways to control the iPhone and other Apple devices using brainwaves? It's called brain-computer interfaces, and it's absolutely wild. A man named Mark, who has ALS, received the implant just a few years ago and was seen navigating his iPad using only his mind. Opening apps, composing messages, opening videos. The system uses an implant from Synchron, which is kind of like a Neuralink competitor, except their procedure is a lot less invasive. Unlike Neuralink, who drills a hole in your brain for open brain surgery, Synchron uses a minimally invasive procedure via the jugular vein, which in my opinion, how minimally invasive can it be if you're going through someone's jugular vein? So Apple created a new protocol that syncs directly with Synchron's implant, enabling them to turn brain signals into system commands. This is crazy because this is the first demonstration of using thoughts to integrate with Apple devices. What's even crazier is that this device is already implanted into over 10 clinical trial participants. And because I know you're going to ask, Brian, how's Synchron different than Neuralink? Here's a ChatGPT summary that purely describes the difference between Synchron and Neuralink. Every day, the singularity gets closer and closer. The hypothetical point in time that technology growth grows so profound and out of control that humans can never control it. And it's actually closer than we think. Crazy. Crazy.
My name? It's not too important.
Ready to hear some deep?
What I'm about to tell you, it's extremely important. I'm one of the first people to get a Neuralink implant in my skull. If you guys can see and don't really know what a Neuralink is, it's kind of like an electronic chip from Elon Musk embedded in your skull. At first it was kind of like a Fitbit, kept track of vital signs, stuff that was going on in my body. Eventually it's gotten to a point where I can move a mouse without even touching a computer. I can connect, I can download, I can transfer information. I'm not the only person that has one of these now, and now we can communicate. This is what's going to happen for the rest of the world. Eventually, this technology will be, maybe not in you, your kids, your grandkids, this is what's coming next. Welcome to the year 2025.
Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS to give us his truth and all the spirituality, and salutations to all the archangels pushing this word throughout the four corners of the earth. This lesson is going into the MOTB, which we're living in a time of prophecy, and this is the main prophecy of the last days, the mark of the beast. And the system for it is already implemented. As of late, you heard about England, the United Kingdom, how they implemented mandatory digital IDs in order to go to the grocery store, in order to work and do, other things, and this is, something that we at GMS been saying for years, since 2020, that eventually they're going to have the digital passports, digital IDs, and that will lead to the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip, Neuralink, or whatever you want to name it. Because right now you got different companies competing, for biochips. You got Elon Musk, Neuralink. You got Synchron. You have a few companies all around the world doing this. And now you got Apple, Samsung getting in on it. And eventually you're going to have, other companies get in too. But that's to give the people the illusion of choice, because you might have somebody that, messes with Samsung, but they don't mess with Apple, or vice versa, to where they might just be like, I'm going to just stick with Apple since I already got iPhone and everything. And since this is what I'm used to, Then you have people that just worship certain, people. They idolize them. You got people that worship Elon Musk. They talk about how smart he is, how innovative he is. They love his technologies, So when they come in with the Neuralink and these different biochips, people just going to go with what company they like or who they like. Because you're going to have celebrities come out too, pushing for this technology. Just like how you see different commercials about Beats or AirPods or, different technologies where they got the celebrities in the commercials to influence people to go and buy those things. They're going to do the same thing for this. All right. So the system is already implemented and we're closer than ever before. So knowing that they're pushing this now, eventually, real soon, we can see the economy collapsing, grocery stores being empty, shelves in general, not just groceries. Everything is going to go into shortage, and the only entity that's going to have the goods people want is the government, so they're going to go to the government and the government is going to tell them, if you don't have, at first it's going to be digital ID, but eventually it's going to be the microchip. If you don't have it, you won't be able to buy or sell, as it is written. So without further ado, this is Revelation chapter 13, verse I'm going to start at 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Now that beast, when you go into it, is going into the Roman Empire, the Edomite Empire to be specific. Because it said in the beginning of the chapter how the beast that John the Revelator saw, that it was like a leopard, and it had the feet of a bear, you know? So, meaning what? It started as a leopard. The leopard represent Alexander the Great. He was the leopard. And the Greeks, I believe, Alexander in the book of Daniel, he's also referred to as a leopard. You know, a leopard, a he-goat. You know, there's different terms. The scriptures use the term beast, beastly terms to describe people and empires. So when it says, "I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth," that's talking about the so-called white man rising into power. It says, "And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." That represents the political parties of Rome and America, because America is modeled after Rome. So those 2 horns represents 2 powers. The ones that control the government is either the Democrat or the Republicans. All right. So 2 horns, 2 political parties, Democrat, Republican. And he spake as a dragon. The things they speak is their laws, their legislations. So Trump's administration, all the laws and legislations he's passing is geared towards taking away more rights. You know, sending the troops to different inner city regions where so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are to persecute us. You know, cutting off different government benefits, making it illegal to criticize the you-know-who over there in the Holy Land. Those are all draconian laws. That's what it means, what it says. He spake as a dragon. All right? Fiercely. And they're going to keep passing more and more laws to take away more rights. Eventually, people going to wake up and they just going to be in full-blown slavery. Because that's what the New World Order is. It's slavery, man. A digital bondage. All right? No buying, no selling, no traveling, no doing whatever you want to do, man. So it says, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." Yeah, America and its way of life, all of it comes from Rome. Christmas goes back to Saturnalia. Even weddings, marriages, the whole wedding ring thing, that goes back to Rome. You know, and many other different customs America upholds. The infrastructure, you go to the courts, you go to Washington, D.C., those buildings are modeled after Roman architecture. So this is it, man. This is Rome reincarnated. It says, "And he doeth great wonders." The great wonders are talking about his miracles. I mean, his technology, you know, which is his miracles. Matter of fact, let's go into the word wonder. The word wonder in the Greek is Simeon. Simeon. Sound like Simeon. But it says a sign, mark, token. That by which a person or thing is distinguished from others and is known. What separates the so-called white man from others is his technology. It propelled him into great heights. You know? And that's his blessing, man. The blessing of the sword that was given unto Esau, Edom, their forefather. So it says, a sign, prodigy, portent, i.e. an unusual occurrence, transcending the common course of nature. So the things the so-called white man did is considered wonder and miracle because nobody ever had that type of technology. And how was it made possible? Because of the Industrial Revolution. And what funded the Industrial Revolution? Slavery and the wealth stolen from the so-called Native Americans and Hispanics. All right. So this is how America became great. You know, they got all this money, so they used it to fund scientists, different technologies, and now they're where they're at. But it says he doeth great wonders so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And that happened in 1948 with Hiroshima and Nagasaki when they dropped those bombs, those atomic bombs. That was a wonder. Unusual occurrence. Transcended the common course of nature for a mere mortal to split the atoms, you know, and eventually now they can fuse atoms But back then it was nuclear fission, which is splitting the atom. But now they have fusion. So that's his wonders. It says, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had a wound by his sword and did live. And that's what's happening right now. The deception, deceiving people with these different technologies. They use gradualism to get people used to, doing the act of swiping. You got the chips in the cards, tap and go. You have it on the phone, Apple Pay, Google Pay, So that's how they get the people's minds. That's how they break into people's minds, And eventually when they come out with the technology, people ain't going to think nothing of it. They ain't going to think it's a big deal because, shit, I swipe all the time. We tap. You go to different hotels. They got a card to get in a hotel, to get in a hotel room, So most people are already used to that. So when the technology comes to them, it's going to be, just a transition. Just like how you transition from maybe iPhone 12 to the new iPhone that just came out, iPhone 17. That's how it's going to be. It's going to look like an upgrade. Because how Apple is making it sound is, they're embellishing it. Like, you're going to be able to control the technology with just your thought. You can control your phone. You can control your iPad, your TV, even your car. Connected to the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies. That's what's coming, man. That's why you see in all these different, clips, the videos, they're all pushing for digital ID, right? So, it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And that power, we seeing that power right now. Trump, him coming into power, it made it way easier to transition to the system. Because as soon as he came in, he signed executive orders for AI, over $500 billion, which those plants are almost done being built over there in, I believe, in Texas. And when they're done being built, Trump already said there's going to be blackouts throughout America. So when those blackout comes, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to cause chaos. It's going to cause looting, rioting, It's going to cause a lot of death from people that depend on, power in different hospitals. Hospitals are about to shut down, because, of course, the tariffs. Hey, man, the Lord set America up for failure, man. There is no healing America, man. That wound that beast got healed from, it's not gonna get healed again, man. That was a one-time thing. So it says, which had a wound by a sword, then it lived. That's speaking about the Roman Empire, because they fell in 400 something AD, if I'm not mistaken. But before they fell, you had the Eastern Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. It already had broken off from Rome, and then Western Rome eventually ended up falling. So for 1,000 years during the medieval period, the Dark Ages, you had so-called black people ruling Europe, all of Europe. It wasn't just Portugal and Spain with the Moors. No, it was England. It was Germany. All over Europe, you will find evidence of the Moors, So that's when they had the deadly wound, But when you go up, it says the deadly wound was going to be healed. And this is what we're witnessing right now. America, NATO, and the EU is the Roman Empire reincarnated. Is the beast healed, right? But now we're seeing the Lord is crippling America and Europe. Their economy's sinking. You got protests all over these countries, And pretty much World War III is about to break out, So ain't going to be no coming back from that, man. It says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Yeah, so it's starting as you won't be able to, buy or sell. You won't be able to go work without having a digital ID, which eventually we know is going to be the chip, the microchip. But eventually it will be, if you don't have it, you're a domestic terrorist and you need to be put to death. That's what it's going to come down to. All right? Because they're going to say, what do you have to hide? Why don't you want to take it? Are you a terrorist? Right? And you're going to also have terrorist attacks happening, false flags, as well as real terrorist attacks, as well as invasions, attacks from Iran and Russia and China coming from Venezuela, because they already got their bases set up over there, right? So they're going to send stuff over here to America, man. So when stuff like that start happening, they're going to need the system to be tighter. You know, how we know you're not a foreign agent? That's what they're going to say, right? So it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. That he's speaking about the so-called white man, right? It says, the mark, we always go into that word here at GMS. The Greek word is charagma. And when you go into it, it says a stamp, an imprinted mark of the mark stamped on the forehead or right hand as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist. Now, the scriptures say there are many Antichrists, but the chief Antichrist, anti-Hamashiach, anti-Yahushai, is Esau Edom, the so-called white man in general. The system that he's establishing is anti-Yahushai because it's against the ways of the Most High and his son. All right. So anybody that takes it, they're pretty much saying, forget the Most High and his son, and that the so-called white man is their God, this system, this government. It says the mark branded upon horses. So anybody that takes it pretty much is a property now of the government and those corporations, really going back to the elites, the bankers, right? The CBDC implants. That's what they want. You know, stable coin implant, whatever name they want to put on it. At the end of the day, if you take this biochip, RFID chip, or NFC chip, or whatever chip in your body, you're going to be destroyed. All right? And it don't matter where you take it. Because, yeah, the scriptures say head, forehead, or right hand. But if you take it in your leg, you're still going to be destroyed. All right? So guys like to play semantics. Well, guess what? The Most High come, you can't play semantics with the Most High. Well, technically, Lord, you said forehead or right hand. So, shit, I took it in my left thumb. So does that count? You can't do that, man. And the judgment, like it says, it's going to be nuclear destruction. It says, think, carve, sculpture, graven work. Yeah, so this chip is an idol. If you take this chip, this is you likened unto you bowing down to an idol. And what does the Heavenly Father say about that? You shall have no other gods before me. If you worship other gods, your judgment is to get put to death. All right? Of idolatrous images. So this mark, this chip is an idol. It's an idol to represents the elites of the society. Much like the king of Babylon had that idol, the statue of gold made of himself, and whoever don't worship it should be put to death. That's what's happening now. The idol represents the chip. And eventually whoever don't take it is going to get put to death. All right. So let's go to the root word. Is karax. It says root word from karasso, to sharpen to a point, to the idea of scratching, right? To the idea of scratching, because they have to scratch underneath the surface. They have to scratch the layers of skin, your skin, then the flesh, and they got to get put under there. It says a pale or stake, a palisade. Pale, stake, or palisade. That's a sharp wood, right? Palisade or rampart, like you see in those ancient movies. When they go to war, you have a whole bunch of sharp wood, you know, pointed towards the enemy. So as they're coming with their horses, as they're running, they get impaled, you know. So this chip pretty much is, you know, them making war, you know, against you people, man, you know. And they're also used for property line, for your fence, white picket fence. That's what it is, right? So if you take this chip, you are the property of the elites, man. So it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So it don't matter what position you have in society. You could be a nigga that's locked up, you know. You could be, you know, a CEO of a company. Everybody's going to be made to take this. It says to receive a mark in their right hand on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save or except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So pretty soon, just like you see with those digital IDs in the UK, that's coming worldwide. You see over there in, I believe in Philippines or Vietnam, one of them Asian countries, They told people to take their digital IDs, and they wasn't with it. And now they seized over 86 million bank accounts, took all their assets and everything, man. Now you got people over there, oh, yeah, we're taking now, because they want their money back. So that's how they gonna do this thing, man. Because in this coming economic collapse, they already warned people that there will be bail-ins, which, if you know anything about a bailout, is when government comes, bail out Wall Street and them and the banks. So what the bail-ins is, not the government is not gonna bail them out. They're gonna bail themselves out by taking the customer's money. So you go to the bank, let's say you got 100,000 saved up. You say, I need my money. I need my money. They're gonna straight up look at you and say, no, you ain't getting that back. Or if you want it back, you got to do this. Matter of fact, you won't even get it back. We'll give you a portion. Or you had 100. You know what? We could get you back 10. But in order for you to get that 10, you're gonna have to take the chip. Where's your digital ID? Where we don't have any way to identify. But yeah, I got my driver's license. I got my birth certificate. Sorry, sir, we don't take those. Only digital. That's what it's going to come down to. So it says in that, no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, the so-called white man. And his number is 603 And that's why on all their products they have all over the world, you always see that barcode. 6, the first letter, the first bar, the middle bar is 6, and the last bar is 6. So 666. So you taking that chip is you becoming a product of these globalists, of these bankers. All right. So let's go to Genesis. Or matter of fact, no, Slack. Let me get Revelation 3 first. This is Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. The thou is speaking about the elect, the prophets, the 144,000, which is part of the 1/3 of the nation of Israel that is due to be delivered. So the Lord said, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. Patience means suffering. So because you kept the word of my suffering, what's the suffering of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua? Going out on the highways and byways, doing these lessons, keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, being brotherly, right? That's all part of the patience of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. And, we ain't see nothing yet. Times are about to get hard. And that's when our faith is going to be tested. When we can't work, we can't eat, feed our families, because the Lord, the Lord is going to test us in many different ways. You know what I'm saying? And the Lord knows each brother's spirit. So he knows exactly, each brother's limit. So the scripture say what? The Lord won't put more on you than you can handle. So whatever happens to us coming down, in these coming days, these coming weeks, just know that that's your portion that you can handle. All right. Persecution is coming. You're going to have people, out to get us due to the fact that they're going to have our faces on the news as the domestic terrorists. Oh, we're hackers. Oh, we're this group that means, to take people out. This terrorist attack was done by the black Hebrew Israelites, right? Yahushua said, you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So that's literal, man. We talking billions of people are going to be at our necks all over the world. But guess what? Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to preserve us, man. All right? Yeah, some brothers going to die, but this time around, the Lord ain't just going to have the prophets, just get railroaded, man. In 2nd Ezra, I believe the 2nd chapter, the Lord said, as for the servants whom I give thee, there shall not one of them perish, but I will require them from among your number. So, yes, some brothers is going to die, but death is not the end all be all. We understand what comes after death. We go to the spirit realm, and then the Heavenly Father brings us back, through reincarnation. But this time, if we're the elect, we ain't going to have to be reincarnated. And that's the blessing that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua has for his men that keep his patience. That even in death, the Lord could still deliver us, man. Right? So, yeah, man, it's going to happen. Persecution, locking us up, ICE, breaking in our homes, taking our families captives. We got to expect these things so that way when they come to pass, well, Lord forbid, but if they come to pass, then it's not a surprise to us. You know, it says, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. The hour of temptation is upon us. We right here in the beginning of it, where people are going to be tempted with taking a chip or taking a chip, taking a chip and living, or not taking a chip and not living. Most people are going to pick the first choice, you know, just like how they did with the vaccine. They say, yo, if you don't get this shot, you won't be able to do this. You won't be able to do that. And that's when people went and took it. When they threatened their jobs, their careers, their livelihoods, their, places they hang out, they couldn't hang out no more. That's when they folded. So how much more for the times that we're coming into where you actually have things that's about to happen? Because back then it wasn't no famine. It wasn't that serious, But this time around, it will be famines, food shortages, crimes of unprecedented scale, world war, civil war, race war, pandemics, unnatural disasters. All these things are going to happen back to back to back at the same time. Matter of fact, not back to back, at the same time, simultaneously. So people are going to be stressed. They're going to be looking for a way out, and the way out is going to be the chip, right? It says, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this won't be just America thing or, UK thing, It's going to spread globally. Just like how we see in 2020. One country came out, had, mandatory this, mandatory that. I think it was China. And then they all follow suit. So same thing now with this digital ID. Eventually, all countries going to require it. And eventually it's going to be the chip, man. Right? To try them that dwell upon the earth. Let's look at that word try. Try, and the Greek is perazo. It says to try whether a thing can be done, to attempt, endeavor, to try, make trial of, test. So this chip is going to be a test. The test for what? To test people's faith, people's integrity. The Lord said in 2nd Ezra that basically when he returns, shall he find faith on the earth? No, Yahweh Shah said that. But in Ezra, there's a scripture that says basically one land is going to ask another, is there faith in thee or something like that? And they're going to say no. So pretty much the world is going into darkness, man. Regular, average, so-called law-abiding citizens, you're going to see before and after pictures, they're going to look totally different. They're going to look like they got legions of demons on them, man. Like how you see World War I and World War II, they show the pictures of the soldiers before and after. Not the same person. So it's going to be the same thing. People are going to go through so much, losing family members back to back, losing their jobs, not having any money, not being able to eat, having to resort to cannibalism, having to resort to eating things they never thought they would eat. That's how bad it's going to get, man. That's why people are just going to get tempted when the so-called white man comes and say, yo, we got food, but this is what you got to do, And most people are going to fall for it, man. Right? It says to try, make trial of, test for the purpose of ascertaining his quality or what he thinks or how he will behave himself. So this is the Most High testing people to see what they're going to do. Are you going to trust in the Heavenly Father, the creator of all things, the one that provides all things for all creatures? Or are you going to trust in the so-called white man? The devil, the one that, feeds you poison, That put poison in everything, man. Sprays it. You gonna trust this man to give you a chip? Fuck out of here, man. That's why you Israelites talking about what was it? I think it was ISUPK. They said, oh, you a coward if you don't take the Jabba Dabba Deuce, back in 2020. Now look, all them motherfuckers that took it, they're getting sick, they're all dropping dead, and they're not even addressing that. So when this chip come, they already said, you think God cares if you take a microchip? That's what General Yohana said. So when it comes, they're gonna go for it, man. His greasy fat ass. Cause he gonna wanna keep eating, man. Them same niggas that was in the wilderness complaining to the Most High about being hungry is the same niggas that's gonna fall for that chip, man. So this is the Most High basically judging that wicked generation, man. 2/3. This is Genesis chapter 47, verse 13. It says, and there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. So right here, this is going into a historical account of a famine in Egypt, which right now we're living in a new Egypt. America is known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt in Revelation 11 and 8. Spiritual Sodom because, of course, Pride Parade, LGBTQRST, and Egypt because America has the 12 tribes of Israel in slavery, just like the Egyptians did, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And they uphold the customs of ancient Egypt as well, you know? So this is the new Egypt, right? So back then it was a famine in the actual ancient Egypt, and now the Lord is going to bring famine on the new Egypt, and not just on America, but on the whole world, because the hour of temptation is going to be global, like it says, on the whole world. Verse 14, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought, and Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So Joseph gathered up all the money, right? And they're going to have something like that too, you know? You know, right now they're saying stable coin. The stable coin is 1-to-1 with the dollar. So they're going to probably present that to people, you know, turn in your cash and we'll give you stable coin for it, you know? Just like how they did in, what is it? I forgot the exact year. It might have been 1914, 15 or something like that. But yeah, after World War II, I believe. That's when they had all the people turning their gold for cash, because it was 1-to-1. No. It was before they got taken off the gold standard. When a dollar was 1-to-1 with gold, people turning their gold and they give them the cash. And eventually, what did they do? Cash lost its value and they kept all the gold, you know? So that's what happened back then. Joseph gathered up all the money. It says, and when money failed in the land of Egypt, so now there's no more money. So now it's going from a famine to an economic collapse. And in all the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. And Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle if money fail. And they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses and for the flocks and for the cattle of the herds and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. Just like the motto for the Great Reset is, you will own nothing and be happy. So they're taking over everything. That's how Pharaoh became rich. That's how Egypt became so great, because of Joseph, you know? So these elites, they're already super rich, ultra rich. They already got everything. But by them doing this, they're literally going to own every single thing, every single person with this chip. You will own nothing and be happy. The air you breathe is going to be rented to you. Everything you have is going to be rented. You want to take a shit or bathroom break at work? Oh, we're going to charge you for that. Carbon tax, carbon this, carbon that. That's slavery. That's them saying they're God over you. You got to come to me for the one of all things, right? That's what it is. It says, and when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year and said unto him, we would not hide it from my Lord, how that our money is spent. My Lord also have our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of my Lord, but our bodies and our lands. You see? So they have nothing left but themselves to give. So that's what is going to happen. People ain't going to have no way to pay their debts because they ain't going to have no jobs, no wealth, no resources. How are you going to pay off that car loan, that student loan, that house loan that you have? What do you have to give us? Oh, just take me. That's what they're going to do. All right, you know what? We could resolve the situation. We could get you back up to date with your payments. All you got to do is just take this. That's what it's going to resort to, man. It says, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land? Buy us in our land for bread, and if we in our land, and we in our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. So people are going to exchange themselves and their resources for food, because that's going to be the main way for them to implement this RFID chip, is the fact that people ain't going to have no food to eat. And the food that's going to be available, they're going to have it in those camps, those military concentration detention centers. And they're going to say, you want some food, you go over there, you know what I'm saying? And you show them your ID or whatever, and then you'll give you rations. That's what's going to happen. The movie Contagion, they show that too. Military was distributing food. Eventually they ran out. Motherfuckers wanted to kill them, you know? So this is Job chapter 2. Matter of fact, I'm going to start from the top. This is Job 2:1. It says, and again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. The sons of God is speaking about the angels. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. So right there, that shows you that the Most High, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his son, Yahweh Shah, they are in total control of every single thing in this universe, including Satan. So no, there's no such thing as Satan rebelling against God and try to fight him. He was the most beautiful angel. That's not scriptural, man. It says Satan came to present himself before the Lord. That's showing reverence and authority. He came to bow before the highest, man. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it. So Satan probably got a chariot too, you know? But he basically told the Most High, I've been doing my job. I've been doing what you created me to do. Evil. People think Satan just got free will. He just doing that shit on his. No, man. The Most High designed Satan that way. Right? It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth the Most High and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man have will he give for his life. That's the point. So the Most High asked Satan, have you tried tempting Job yet? You know, have you considered trying him? You know, there's nobody like him. And Satan said, skin for skin, all that a man have will he give for his life. Meaning a man will give everything just to survive, just to live. You know, they'll give an arm and a leg just to keep going. And, you know, that this is something that, you know, all organisms, I guess, you know, have embedded in them. They want to keep surviving. They want to have the will to want to keep surviving. So, you know, yeah, you could want to survive, but if it's at the cost of going against Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, you might as well just lose your life because you're going to lose it anyways. Right. So that's why most people are going to take this chip, is out of fear of losing their life, you know, and they will end up losing it by taking the chip. But it says, and Satan answered the Lord, skin for skin, yea, all that a man have will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So this is the bet that the Most High already has agreed with Satan for everybody on earth. All souls are getting tempted by Satan in different ways on a daily basis. You know, this is why it's a fight, you know, and as it says, this is the fight that man is placed upon the earth shall fight. What is the fight? To fear the Most High and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. So the scriptures say the Most High made man upright, you know, so Satan's job is to make us go off, you know, by tempting us in different ways through the lust of the flesh, you know, whether it be through adultery, you know, whether it be through what else, you know, theft, you know, going off against the Most High, worshiping other gods, going into other philosophies, you know, so many different traps that Satan got out there for people, because there's different souls, different spirits. So you got to cater to them in different ways. Use religion, give them Christianity, making them think that they're following the Most High, but in the end have their pastor tell them to take the chip, you know, just so they could obey the powers that be. Romans 13. You can see it coming, man. Esau's so easy to read, right? Esau is Satan in the flesh. Satan uses the so-called white man as his vessel to do his will on earth. So this hour temptation that's coming is going to be Satan using the so-called white man to bring it. All right. To make people go off against the Most High. All right. This is Revelation chapter 14, verse. No, it's like Revelation 20 and 4. 20. No, it got to be 14. It's like, give me 1 second. It is 14. Yep, this is Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. It says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast in his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, taking that chip, that Neuralink, or whatever names they got for him, CBDC implant, stablecoin implant, whatever implant you put in your body. If you take that, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So if you take this chip, your judgment will be nuclear destruction. And nuclear destruction is prophesied all throughout the Bible. Malachi 4:1, 2 Peter the 3rd chapter, right? There's many scriptures going into the nuclear judgment that's coming to America, Babylon the Great. So anybody that takes this chip is going to be destroyed, man. Israelites, Edomites, it don't matter. If you take this RFID chip, NFC chip, CBDC chip, implant, whatever, the Apple implant, Samsung implant, you're going to be destroyed. All right? It says, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. So if you take this, it will be destroyed by the missiles. And the missiles ain't going to be no instant death, you know? And it's supposed to be. You know, a couple seconds or less than a second, people get vaporized to dust. But the Lord is going to keep people's spirits in their bodies as it's happening. So that couple seconds that it usually takes for the body to be destroyed is going to feel like an eternity, man. That's what it's basically going into. All right. And also America is going to burn for a long period of time, maybe years, you know, when nuclear destruction comes. All right. So with that, I'm going to close out and give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Chakodash. Double honor to the apostles of GMS that give us his truth, and salutations to all you I can push in this word.